All right, greetings. Welcome back to Blackburn News, where everything is connected. How are you all doing? Um, Hopefully, I'm live on call-in, and hopefully y'all can hear me correctly. I don't know. I was having some issues with call-in just now, with the sound and with actually finding the episode. At first, I could not even find the episode that I scheduled, and then I found it, which is a little weird, but who knows? Glitchy times. Anyways, we're live on Rockfin as well. What's up, Rockfin folks? How are you? And we're live on YouTubers, hello. Andre says plastic is fantastic. Yeah, we're going to read around about plastic. I think that's Katy Perry, the person I put in my thumbnail. There's a video of her going around kind of doing weird robot eyes. A lot of people are trying to make it seem like, I don't know. A lot of people are saying things about it that are weird. I think she's just, personally, I just think she's acting. It was just an act. She's acting. She's acting like a robot. People can do that. People have the ability to have acting skills and to, play things up and make it seem like something's happening. I think she's acting, but everybody's trying to make it. I retweeted something earlier about it. What was it? It was pretty witty, but something about our love is like a Pfizer work. Is what it said, alluding to, whatever. So, alluding to, what. But personally, I think she's just acting. So sometimes, you don't necessarily have to take things, some things are fairly obvious and maybe not worthy of being jumped all over as like, see, look at that. But it was, funny. Oh, there was some Alex Stein action at Penn State University? Okay. I'll have to check that out. Alex Stein has been doing some very wild things, which I find hilarious. Some people may not be all about Alex Stein or the Alex Stein life. I don't know. I think he's funny. He's very disruptive, and I enjoy that. All right, let's get into it. All right, Denver, thanks for the link. Denver is quick on the draw. Okay, I'll watch that later. I'm not going to watch it right now, but thank you for the link. I appreciate that, Denver. Okay, I did get some after hours coffees, and I'm all about after hour coffees. Reflect the Sun bought me 3 coffees saying, enjoy your podcast. No. Enjoying your podcast when I can, throwing a few bucks to support. Thank you, Reflect the Sun. And Niels Vanderwolk brought me 2 coffees and said, thank you, Kevin, watching your show regularly on YouTube. Keep up the good work and kind regards from the Netherlands, Niels Vanderwolk. Thank you, Niels. I appreciate it. Let's get into it. Poppy Davis tweeted this yesterday, but this is from a few days ago. How did I miss a Cat 4 hurricane? I missed it too, apparently. Although for some reason, I think maybe my sense of time is off, but I thought we did talk about a hurricane or a forming hurricane in the Pacific Ocean, but maybe that was a few weeks ago. But there's nothing about this. This is a large hurricane, and there is absolutely nothing about this in the news, and nothing. I didn't see one thing about this at all, like flooding, hurricane damage. That seems interesting. Again, I have my attention pulled in so many different directions that it is possible for me to miss a story here and there, but it seems unlikely given my timeline is filled with climate aware people or people who would notice things like this, so it does seem a little strange that nobody was talking about this or nobody saw this until I saw this from Proppy yesterday. This is the image of Hurricane Rosalind as a Cat 4 hurricane today. This is from 3 days ago. It's now going towards the western coast of Mexico with winds up to, it is weird. Did anybody else see this? Was it just me? Did other people, was there footage of the damage? Was anybody aware? Anyone else aware? That is rather bizarre that an entire hurricane just slips out of the news. This is from 20 hours ago from the New York Times, which they probably won't let me read this. They won't. About Rosalind. Here's something. Rosalind kills 3. Okay, here's some news about this. This is from yesterday. Rosalind kills 3, causes extensive destruction in Mexico. After making landfall in Mexico as a major hurricane, Rosalind submerged cars and trucks in deep water and mud and destroyed homes. I guess people just don't care about Mexico. I don't know. Rosalind is being blamed for 3 fatalities. Sorry, I'm not showing you. Judy Truitt says there wasn't much video footage of that storm. I guess not, but in these days and times, there's flood footage, storm footage, tornado footage. There's footage of, almost every conceivable event. And the fact that an entire hurricane and the aftermath just doesn't even make a blip on anybody's timeline is somewhat strange. 3 people died between the storm and its aftermath, the New York Times reported Monday, according to the Times. Yeah. At its peak, prior to landfall, the storm had ramped up to a Category 4, and it hit as a Category 3. Here's, looks like some mudslides, landslides, flooding. Yeah, well, that's a pretty big storm. There's another major storm to hit and give some people some grief, and everybody decided to ignore it. I'm talking. Again, I know I'm reading articles from, there are some people reporting it, but it just seemed to be not too big a news. Boiled Rope Lamppost says plenty of footage from beach towns on Twitter. I didn't see any of that. Judy Truitt says people are tired of seeing all the flooding. Possibly. Yeah, it's weird, but okay. But we're covering it. We're here. We're covering it. We're talking about it. It did happen. Some outlets covered it. But people it's very shrug-worthy these days. I actually find that to be true of other weather events. That it's, there's so much going on Denver says 120 mile per hour winds reported. So much going on and so many extreme weather events going on that some events are rather shrug worthy. People, it's just not worth anybody's time. Oh, it's another heat wave. Nobody's talking about, that last long lasting heat wave in China. Didn't even make a blip. I didn't see it anywhere else, but a few people on Twitter going, extreme temperatures of the world going, there's a heat wave in China. I didn't see it anywhere else. Just people decided to completely ignore it. Anyways. Yeah. So that's how it is now. Just extreme weather events happening like literally constantly, all the time. And some just being left out of people's viewfinders. All right, let's keep going. Peter Dines says only 5% of plastics are recycled each year. 50 million tons are dumped. This is the most advanced country in the world. What chance of tackling climate change? Which is a, pretty good question. But that's, we're pumping out these plastic products just hand over fist. We cannot stop, it seems. And I'm sorry, not switching from plastic straws and plastic bags at the store is not even, that's funny to me because people just buy stuff wrapped in plastic all day long. They go to the store, they go wherever, and it's just plastic. But I didn't use a plastic straw or a plastic bag at the store. I mean, kudos for trying and keep doing that. But try, attempt to go beyond if you can. I know it's hard. I know it's really hard. And coincidentally, I saw this other article on plastic just as I was looking at that tweet. 380 million tons of plastic are made every year. None of it is truly recyclable. Did you know that? Did you know not even water bottles and milk jugs meet standards for recyclability, a new report finds. No plastic is truly recyclable, not even the water bottles and milk jugs that people usually toss into their blue bins. I know a lot of people are well aware that recycling is somewhat of a myth or somewhat of a, you think it's happening, but it's not really happening. It's just a panacea. And it totally works for me. I recycle pretty much everything. I throw away very little garbage. It's like everything I throw away, or I put most things in a recycling bin and or compost, and my actual garbage can. Not a lot goes in there. And I just kind of ignore the fact that with all the things I'm recycling may or may not make it to where they're supposed to go. But I have hope. I still have hope. And give me 1 second, obsolete. I'm going to take your call in a moment. Give me a couple of moments. I just want to finish talking about this. According to a new report released on Monday by Greenpeace USA, no plastic product meets a common industry standard for recyclability. Even though they bear the familiar chasing arrows recycling symbol, the report says industry-backed recycling labels on yogurt cups, ketchup bottles, food trays, and other products perpetuate a fiction that recycling will ever scale up to handle the 380 million tons of plastic that companies churn out every year. The U.S. plastic recycling rate has never topped 10%, and a report from earlier this year revealed that it has now fallen to just 5%. Corporations are hiding behind plastics recycling and hoping that it will completely solve the plastic waste crisis that they have helped create, said Lisa Ramsden. It's kind of like carbon credits and stuff like that, right? A senior oceans campaigner for Greenpeace USA, she called on companies to scale down plastic production and replace single-use products and packaging with reusable alternatives like bottles that can be refilled. Hey, that's not that hard. I got you, Obsolete. Give me just one more moment. Greenpeace's report, titled "Circular Claims Fall Flat Again," builds on a previous report that the organization published in 2020. Back then, the group found that only certain kinds of bottles and jugs met the federal government's definition for recyclable and could legally bear the chasing arrow symbol. Those bearing the numbers 1 to 2 indicate the kind of material they're made of: polyethylene terephthalate and high-density polyethylene, respectively. The same is still true today. Most recycling facilities don't accept or recycle plastics numbered 3 to 7, like polyvinyl chloride, polypropylene, and polystyrene, because they are difficult to sort and often contaminated with toxic chemicals. But Greenpeace's most recent report also highlighted an abysmal recycling rate for those that meet the government's definition. So even if they are recyclable, I mean, very few people recycle. They are, people are super cynical and super unconscious, even my super conscious people friends that I know. It's cool. I'm not judging you. I'm just saying. That's just the truth. It's just a statement of fact. It's not a judgment. It is what it is. The actual reprocessing rate for bottles and jugs made of PET number 1 is only 21% and about 10% for HDPE. So very dismal. All right, let's take this call from Obsolete Optics. How you doing? Obsolete, how you doing?
Obsolete, how you doing?
Yo, good. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
So, one of the things about recycling is that there's this thing called wish cycling, where people throw in their recycle bins things they think are recyclable, which actually aren't. And I don't know if they know this, but those just end up in landfills anyway.
Right.
Right.
You mean everything that's in the recycling bill?
Everything that's in the recycling bill?
Yeah. People throw away their plastic bottles and cans and stuff in the recycling bin, but there's other stuff that's made of plastic that doesn't have the symbol with the number on it.
Right.
And they just throw it in the bin anyway, thinking it's recyclable when it's not.
Yeah. I know and different places have different rules. There's a little bit of an echo, Obsolete. I don't know if you have me on somewhere.
Yeah, sorry, I'm in the car. I'm on the Bluetooth. Kill that for a sec.
Gotcha.
There we go.
Yeah.
Is that better?
Yeah, I think so.
Right.
Oh no, it's still. There we go. That's way better.
I'm in the work van and it's raining. I'm at the FedEx office right now, about to drop off a whole order of plastic bottles to get sent to the Virgin Islands so that this company down there can take these samples and send them back to us. And that's another thing where I work. We do all this environmental testing for water and soil.
Yeah.
And we go through so much plastic there. All these plastic bottles that we use.
Yeah.
They do end up getting thrown away. We don't recycle them. They just go in the dumpster once the samples have been taken and we've analyzed them and everything and all the shit we do is done.
Yeah.
They just get thrown in the dumpster out back, and the garbage truck comes, picks it up, dumps it all in with everything else, all the food waste, all the paper trash. It all goes in the same bin.
Right.
In the landfill.
Yeah, it's pretty depressing.
Dude, tell me about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why I'm such a, I guess, I'm a hyper
black-pilled.
I'm black-pilled, but I also am a recycler. I'm kind of like a obsessive recycler.
Dude, me too.
But it only really I do it because if I didn't do it, I would just feel even more horrible. Right? That's really what it
Right.
is. If I didn't recycle, I would feel horrible. And I already feel it's already bad enough, right? Already feel horrible about pretty much all of my contribution to the destruction of the planet, my own personal contribution to it. There are things that I just cannot avoid, and it's really hard. So
Same.
I try to do
What
what I,
makes
I
me
try to
feel
do
horrible-
all the things that I can, and if I don't do those things, then I get, I'm just gnawed by the monster of guilt a little bit, So
Yeah. What makes me feel horrible is when I'm like, when it's like dumping time to like get rid of the samples, I have to open up all these plastic bottles and dump all this wastewater out down the drain of the tub sink in the back room at work, and it just all
and it
goes to
just
the
goes into
wastewater
the
treatment
wastewater,
plant. And God
right?
only knows what they do with it.
Yeah, man,
And like some
it's
of
pretty
these samples we
sick.
get are really nasty. Like they smell really bad. Like it's a bunch of leachates from a bunch of landfills in the area and around the state.
Good God! So you're testing for toxicity, and then you're just throwing it down the drain.
Yep, just down the drain. Yep,
That is rich.
down the drain.
That
Let the
is
city
really
deal
great.
with it. What's their problem now?
Oh my God! Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Yeah.
That's pretty bad.
I try not to think about it.
Yeah, I mean, what can you do? Yeah, right. Like you gotta, whatever. You gotta
Some days when
do
I'm
what you
doing
gotta
the
do.
dumping down the sink, and it's like a whole cart full of like samples, like hundreds, if not 1,000 bottles at a time that I dump.
Yeah,
They've past their shelf life or whatever, because we like store them in the back room on the shelves for like 6 months or something like that, in case
Yeah.
they need to be retested and reanalyzed. But once they pass that holding time, then they just get out. And usually when I'm back there dumping the samples, I'm listening to the show.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I
It
know.
comes on after.
It's really hard. It's hard to not, contribute, and
Right.
because we're all kind of forced to do the things we got to do. So
Right, I'm forced to do this for a job, and
Right.
I only make $15 an hour to do it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's pretty depressing. Well, man, thanks for the call. Thanks for letting me know. And yeah,
Yeah, no problem. Thanks
Yeah.
for taking my call.
for sure, for sure. Yeah, I used to I used to live in a part of LA that didn't even give you recycling bins. And which was like didn't give you recycling bins. This wasn't that long ago. This was when everybody had recycling bins already, pretty much everywhere. But for whatever reason, wherever I lived in LA, there was just like, nah, there's no bins. Like, just throw everything in the trash. And I was like, I was so obsessive about recycling that I would save all the recycling and put it in my car. And there was a recycling plant there was a spot to recycle things. Where was it? I don't know. It was about 5 blocks from me, maybe 5 or 6 blocks from me, and I put all the recycling in my trunk and go take it down there. And they actually weighed it and would give me money, which was interesting. I'd make a couple bucks off all my plastics. They would recycle, certain kinds of plastics they would recycle, and they'd weigh it for me and cut me a couple of dollars for this. But I mean, I didn't really care about the dollars. But I would, and I just thought it was wild that they didn't even like offer the option to recycle in Los Angeles, Los Angeles, supposedly forward thinking, progressive, friends of the earth, Los Angeles, right? They're like, nah, yeah, whatever. Andre says there's no recycling in Northwest Montana. Well, I believe that. I believe that. Yeah, it's a pretty sad state of affairs. And all these places that are, they're talking about hundreds of major companies from Clorox to the food giant Mondelez have signed a commitment agreeing to this definition, the definition of industry-backed, standards for recycling. Have signed a commitment agreeing to this, yet their products continue to feature the chasing arrows symbol, right? Meaning, oh, we're recycling. So they're greenwashing. or virtue signaling or whatever. It's just like the 18-wheeler going down the highway with a eco with a little leaf, green eco leaf on it. Like there's nothing, ain't nothing eco about what you're doing, bro. There's nothing, absolutely nothing ecologically friendly about what you're doing, but they stamp it on there to make everybody feel good. Like, oh, we're going green. No, you're not. But whatever. So they stamp all this stuff on their products to make you think like, yeah, right. Art Cassette World says I am the total recycler too. Yeah. It's kind of like the fish industry, right? Did anybody watch that documentary? Oh, I can't remember what it was, about the fishing industry and how they stamp, like equitably sourced fish, or fair catch tuna, and there's no, they just put that on there to make you feel like, yeah, I'm doing the right thing. And nothing about what they're doing is fair catch or equitably sourced. Nothing. They just rubber stamp that, because to actually put things in recyclable containers might cost you a couple of extra cents. Oh my God, the bottom line will be threatened. Whatever shall we do? And right, or to equitably source fish, you probably would lose a little, your profit there. Might be too hard. Might be too difficult to do that. So no, we're not going to do it. All right, we're going to take another call from Clayton. How you doing, Clayton? What's up, Clayton? You're on. How you doing? I think you got to unmute yourself, or I don't know. I know it's kind of tricky.
Hear me?
Yeah.
One of the other things about the plastic pollution problem is that if you're a poorer country, most of the plastic pollution comes from poorer countries because they can't afford to at least do something with it. And in most rich countries, there's less plastic pollution going down the river and out into the oceans, right?
Sure.
But the problem with that is, in order to become rich enough to deal with all your pollution, you have
Or you're breaking up. You're breaking up there, Clayton. Clayton, I lost you there.
Am I breaking up?
Yeah, you're back. You're back now.
Okay. I was saying the problem is either you're poor and you have high pollution in the rivers and a lot of trash floating around and going down the rivers, and you have more like physical pollution. But as you get richer, you have less physical pollution, but you have more carbon pollution. So there's like you either burn a lot of fossil fuels or you pollute a lot of trash and plastic.
Yeah.
Like there's nowhere, and except in hunter-gatherer societies, basically, where you have neither of those.
Right. You're right. Well, on top of that, a lot of wealthy countries ship their recycling waste to poorer countries. That's a big problem. Like we ship our electronics waste to like Nigeria, to Africa. And there's these huge like mountains of electronic waste
really
that's just
poison.
Yeah, that's not. They're not doing anything about it. They're just outsourcing it, right? Oh, we'll just push it over here. We used to send all of our a lot of our plastic recycling to China, and then until they were like, no, we don't. We have too much. We don't know what to do with it, so take it back.
Eventually, all the countries are going to get rich enough. They're just all going to pour it into the poorest country they can, and they'll just be a huge 10-mile tall pile of trash in the middle of Africa or something.
Sure, probably.
I can see that.
Yep. Yeah, it's a huge issue, and we're not even having the correct conversation about it, right?
Right.
It goes
having all of it.
Yeah, it's a part of the whole consumerism issue, but and we have to buy, a lot of things that are wrapped in plastic or things that we absolutely need, food and stuff like that, right? Come
Right.
bottled or wrapped in plastic, and these are even
Except we spread
necessities.
for 100,000 years.
Yeah, and so, right? Like I
Right.
want to buy some dish soap, but not in a plastic bottle. Is there a possibility to do that? Absolutely not.
No,
Uh,
no,
could we find
not
another way?
really.
Or that would be actually. I kind of hate to say this, but a
Well,
really
there
really
is
great idea for a
ways
company.
because we did it for 100,000 years.
Yeah, a really great idea for a
Yeah.
company would be to offer all of their, maybe do a range of products that are not there's no plastic involved whatsoever in the packaging. That you would probably be quite successful if you did that, right? Just advertise yourself as like no plastic involved in the packaging
Well,
whatsoever. There actually are a lot of products that don't have plastic in the packaging, right? Even McDonald's, right? Like when you go, I never eat at McDonald's, but I know that if you go get a McDonald's meal, there's very little plastic in there. There is I can see that there's an effort to be conscious about what they're wrapping everything in. It's all wrapped in like paper or cardboard. And so like people are trying to do that. It'd be great if we could go a little further. I don't know. I don't know. It's tough because there's 8 billion consumers in the world on the planet these days, and so got to get them the stuff. So, anyways, all right. Thanks, Clayton. I appreciate it.
See ya.
All right, peace. All right. Well, let's check. Let's check the coffees at this moment in time. If we've gotten any coffees today yet? No coffees today yet. Did get a Rockfin tip, so that's cool. Got a Rockfin tip from Stop Having Kids. How you doing? Good to hear from you. Thanks for the tip. Stop Having Kids says, I don't get how so many people can see all the waste, suffering, and death they produce in the world and still want to continue the cycle by producing more humans. Did you know that dairy products are the most thrown out food in grocery stores? Extra horrifying given that we have no need to consume anything made from the milk of other species. Love the show. Keep up the fantastic work. Thank you. I appreciate that. Stop having kids. Thanks for the comment. Yeah. It's a big, we've created a mess, and we're doing a good job creating more of a mess. And it's hard to, nobody seems to be interested in putting the brakes on or stopping the mess, creating more mess. And it's a big flaw in the human design as we know it at the moment, right? I don't know how people are going to wake up to the reality of that. It's very difficult, especially when the propaganda tells you, you can't say that. Absolutely not. How dare you? All right. We're going to keep on chugging on because so far the conversation has been really good around this topic. I wanted to try and cover some other things. From the professor, your moment of doom, this article bugs me. Insects are particularly vulnerable to climate change because the vast majority can't regulate their body temperature, increasing the danger when temperature and moisture levels change. Insect apocalypse. We know this is happening. We know that insects are quickly falling. Populations are quickly falling. In a major new study, more than 70 experts say there's a mounting evidence that insect populations are in rapid decline. It's an alarming assessment given that insects underpin the global food chain, both as prey but also pollinators for the world's food crops and other plants. These declines are considered to be profound concern, with terms like an emerging insect apocalypse being increasingly used by the media and even some scientists to describe this phenomenon, the study says. It's based on a study. It's not just some people going, you know what I think? I think there's an insect apocalypse. Anyways, insects are suffering the effects of pollution, deliberate use of agricultural chemicals, also extreme, any type of extreme weather will take them out. The insects are the basis of a lot of food chains. So many species of birds and mammals and reptiles and amphibians feed on insects either partially or exclusively. They are part of the web of life. So if you destroy one part of the web of life, the rest of the web, what happens to it? There was a tornado, or a few tornadoes, in the UK. Hampshire. Other tornadoes have been reported in Welling and London, but these still need confirming. Just some footage of, here's some wild weather. Is the UK known for tornadoes? I don't think they are. But maybe I'm wrong. I might be wrong. There was a protest at The View, of taping of The View. New York Communities for Change. We interrupted The View today. You guys know that show, The View. To protest ABC's lack of climate coverage and its platforming of climate denier Ted Cruz. Whoopi said, "Let us do our job," but your network is failing to do its job. It spent less than 6 hours on climate in 2021. Which is true. There's very, very little coverage of climate change on the TV, on the telly. People, a lot of people are saying, "Oh, they're hyping it. They're just hyping this climate change thing, man." Not really. Compared to other stories and other issues they're not talking about climate change at all. Nobody's, the scant few moments that they mention climate change in the news, the denial crowd jumps all over it. See, oh my God, there's climate change. Oh, they're hyping it. Not really, dude. No. I think it's you that's hyping it. You're hyping something that's not really there. Anyways. Now, I don't know if they asked him anything about climate change, did they? They went on to say, I'm going to read this thread a little bit. ABC thinks itself good on climate after they kicked us out. The host told everyone they cover climate. I've never heard anyone on The View ever talk about climate change. Or if they do, it's always the in passing, right? Oh, what about climate change? ... That's, that's how people cover climate change. And also climate change. And then, they move on. There's no in-depth analysis about climate change on The View. Absolutely not. Please show me some footage of them actually talking about climate change. I will happily be wrong. It's greenwashing. After they kicked us out, the host told us they cover climate change. It's greenwashing. Even during this record-breaking summer of heat waves, it often failed to connect the dots to climate crisis and call out fossil fuels. Better coverage would mean frequently connecting climate events to climate change, naming fossil fuels as the key driver of the crisis, and refusing to platform climate deniers. So I'm gonna dissent here and say that I don't like the whole platforming, the language of platforming deniers or fascists or I don't like that. I'm not I think that's kind of goofy. Like, you can have people on your show and ask them tough questions. But the whole like platforming people, I'm not down with that kind of language, but because it strikes of canceling. And I'm not canceling, kind of like a form of censorship, and I'm not down with the censorship thing. But you have every right to go up and say, hey, Ted Cruz or AT News or The View, why are you guys not talking about climate change? That's ABC will say they are doing enough, but it's still not for one of the biggest stories of our times. So they're making good points. They barely cover climate, and not even during climate disasters, right? Oh, it's really hot. Wow, crazy hot. Whoa, there's a big hurricane. Whoa, wow, there's a lot of flooding going on. This is strange, right? And they don't really say like, well, Sabby Sab says The View is a joke. Yeah, they're pretty jokey. Anyway, so I think this is cool that they got in here and they disrupted this and talked about this and brought this to light. I think that's great. I love to see it. Hold on, let's see if I can get some. It's a 38-second clip, so I don't know if we can get some sound on here or not, or whether it's even necessary. Oh, here we go. All right. Did you guys hear that? I don't know. I know that the volume is not that great. Oh, you know what? I have a way to deal with that, but it's too late. The volume wasn't that great on that clip, but good for them. Good for them protesting and bringing this issue to the View. All right. A couple other things. All right, YouTube. I'm going to cover a couple other things, but I think we're going to finish the last few minutes on Rockfin. So, YouTubers, thank you so much for hanging on YouTube. But you can come to Rockfin, ROKFIN.com, and watch the rest of the show. Or on Callin, you can hang out. Okay. I'll see you all tomorrow at noon. And peace.